Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me with the sampler sew along basic block number 4. This is a sew along that is being hosted by Rita's Roost, Mona DeWitt, Rowena, and myself. Now, you can join us on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on one of the creators' channels. And generally, I post that in my community page to tell you where we are meeting that Monday night. Today is the 25th of January, 2024. We are going to do something a little bit different today. In the previous 3 videos, we went through how to cut your fabric, how to choose your fabric, what type of rulers to use. And at this point, I believe you are confident enough and comfortable enough to cut that fabric and have all of that prepped before we even get started. Block 4 is Aunt Eliza's Star at Delaware Quilt Company. The link for the website is in the description of this video. If you have not done so, go ahead, pause this video, and pull up that pattern, prep and cut your fabric, and we will get back and get going. So go ahead and pause the video at this moment. All right, so we've made our fabric choices. Again, I am using the 12.5-inch Creative Grids ruler. If you have a smaller ruler that will work for you, that is fine. Use the ruler that you're comfortable with. We have our pattern and we have our blocks cut out. Now, just to point out for the purpose of this video that I have actually switched my colors up, and that just means that the cutting instructions for the light color, I used my dark color. So I've just flipped it around. So my colors will be inverted. And just to let you know, so if you're pulling your light color while I'm pulling my dark color, we're doing exactly the same thing. There are only 2 separate sizes. The only difference is the light color will have 4 of the smaller units, and the darker color will have 1. We are going to work with our bigger blocks. So I'm going to set this aside. And what we are going to do is make quarter square triangles. So we are flipping the light fabric, drawing a diagonal line from one corner to the other. Drawing one corner to the other on both pieces of the light fabric, and this pin lid will just not stay on. And then we are going to take it to the sewing machine, stitching a quarter of an inch away from the diagonal line that we've drawn. We are going to do that for both units, drawing a quarter of an inch. And if you have a problem knowing where that quarter of an inch is, you can simply put your ruler down, find your quarter of an inch mark, and just go ahead and make another line on either side. And you could sew directly on that line if that helps you out. Okay, you do want to set your seam your stitch down to 1.8 or 2.0 on the sewing machine, and I am going to ask you to pause this video right now, take it to the sewing machine, go ahead and make those cuts and join us back here. Okay, so we are back. We have taken a quarter of a seam on both our units. At this point, we are just going to cut. Move this one out of the way. We are going to take two cuts. So we are going to cut between those two stitch lines that we made, and we are going to gently lift up our ruler, place it back down on the opposite end of the diagonal line, making a cross and taking an additional cut. So we should have 4 units per block that looks exactly like this. Repeat it, cutting between the stitch line, carefully turning our ruler, and taking that additional cut. And what you should end up with is 8 units that look like this. When you fold them open, they are going to look like this. And what we want to do is take this to the iron and give it a good press towards the dark side, towards your darkest fabric. We are going to iron that out. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that, or a few minutes to do that. And you can pause the video at this point and join us right back. Okay, so we are back. We have our units cut, and I've got something to confess. I went and ironed out my seam and I couldn't figure what was going on. And I forgot when I was cutting my fabric to lay the fabric the right sides touching each other. And I came up with a block like this. Well, I just went ahead and cut another 2 squares from my leftover fabric, and we are moving on. I'm not even going to make an issue of it. Mistakes happen to the best of us and to any of us that so. So we've got our units. We have our units pressed out, our quarter triangle units pressed out. And what we're going to do is make a square. So you are going to put your squares together where the darks are touching the lights, just like that. And we are going to flip these over, sewing a 1/4 inch seam down the long side and nesting the seams together. If you need to pin, go ahead and pin. But what I want you to do is take these to your sewing machine, pause the video, and sew all 4 units down together. All right, so we are back. We have our units sewed together. They all should look something like this. But now we have to trim our blocks down and take care of these little dog ears. And what we are going to do is look for the final block measurement on the instructions, and I can tell you it's going to measure the same as those squares that we have not used yet. So we are going to trim our block down, placing our diagonal line on the ruler onto the diagonal line of our square. And we want to find the middle so that the X, the middle of it is right there on the point, and we have, excuse me, a nice even square. So this, I have it set on my 2/4 mark. I'm going to flip that over. And now I am going to square this block up. Pieces away. And so now I have a block that looks like that. I want you to pause the video and complete the other three. Go ahead and trim all threes to that final unit size. Well, I hope everybody has had the opportunity to go ahead and square up your blocks. And now we are simply going to be working with a 9 patch. We've done this on 2 other tutorials, so this should be very easy from here. So we're just going to build out our 9 patch per the pattern or the instructions. And I am assuming square. So we have our unit like this. I need to flip my units because I want the darker color not touching that middle square. So we are going to have opposite colors touching the middle squares. Just like that. Again, yours might look a little different because I inverted my colors, where my dark colors on the pattern is actually my lighter color. So we are going to sew our 9 patches together. And I'm looking at this backwards. We are going to sew it down with a 1/4 inch seam, completing each row. And I'll see you right back. And we are back. We have our rows sewn together. I have pressed out my rows, and on the top unit and the bottom unit, I pressed towards going out, and on the middle unit, I pressed with the seam allowance going towards the inside. And that is just so when we sew our blocks together, we have a nice little seam that will nest nicely. And that's what we're going to do at this part. We are almost there. We are going to fold this over, take a seam down that way. When that block is sewn together, or that row is sewn together, you're just going to flip the other one, do the same thing. If you need to pin, and again, I do like to pin on the seams. It just makes it a little easier when I take it to my sewing machine. If you are comfortable not using pins, that is fine. But we are going to go ahead and sew those rows together, and we will be done. We can show our blocks. Meet you back. And so there you have it, Aunt Eliza's star. Real quick and simple, easy block to make. You can make a full quilt using just this block, and you can mix and match your colors. If you used yardage, you can just alternate the color of the blocks. I can see it being a very pretty baby quilt, a quilt for your child, grandchild, lovely lap quilt. I'm glad you were able to join me. Please visit us on Monday nights at Mona Did Rut, Rowena, Rita's Roost, and myself. And we hope that you enjoyed the sew along, learning how to build some basic blocks. Y'all be blessed, be kind, and keep sewing. Thank you. Bye.